Press conference. Coach will start us off with an opening statement. Please raise your hands for questions. Coach?
Yeah, just first of all, obviously excited to get our first win last weekend down in Houston. Guys played great. Our most complete game this season in all three aspects. And, it's obviously, been a long time coming to get our first Big 12 win. Been very close at a lot of opportunities this year and just hadn't come through for many reasons, but we did this week. And I think it just shows our guys continue to fight, continue to put the time and effort and work in and trying to get better. We're having guys having their best games this late in the season, which is awesome. And, we certainly want to continue that as we move forward this week, going to West Virginia. We came back Sunday. I thought we did, had a great meeting and had another good practice on Sunday. And, been game planning today. We looked excited to get back on the practice field. Several things we did great that we talked about. I think turnover margin was the biggest key. We created 3. I guess we had 1, but offensively we didn't turn it over. I thought defensively, outstanding game. I think, Coach Brown and his staff did a great job really containing the pass game, which they really wanted to do. A team, I think we held them to 102 yards in the passing game, which was outstanding, with 3 interceptions. One of the things that's kind of been our nemesis, giving up some big plays in the throw game. Our guys did a great job with that. We didn't really give up those big plays in the passing game, and obviously tried to make them drive the ball, and they created some mistakes for them. And so really proud of that. We started 2 freshmen at corner, for the game, and the guys played well. Really the thing we gave up was the Q runs, I thought, but other than that, really shut them down really all night long. So that was great. Quarterback game was very efficient. Emory, most efficient game, 13 for 16 in that regard. I thought he played a really good game. Lecter came in and played well. Also, both of those guys gave us a great chance. And then I think, Corey's been very, very consistent this year. He's one of our more consistent players. Went over 100 yards again. He's 115 shy of 1,000. So, obviously we'd love to hit that mark for him. I think our offensive line take pride in that. Our tight ends, of course, the running backs. Being able to get to that milestone. So something certainly to strive for. You give credit to our guys up front. Luke Kandra, I think, has really had an outstanding year this season at right guard, DT at left guard. Both of those guys have really been very, very solid up front. Kind of the mainstay to help us get all these rushing yards, and total yards for that matter of fact as well. So, just excited about the opportunity again to come play this next week. We're going to play West Virginia. I think I obviously know Neil from our time at Troy and at our time at App State. I think he does an outstanding job. Their team started out hot at 4-1. They do have 6 wins to this point, and I think their strength of their team, I think, is offensive line. I think those guys are really good up front. They're one of the top rushing teams in the country this year. Have 2 really good backs, one really big back, and then another freshman that's really shown some really good stuff this year. Very good, solid wide receivers. And then their quarterback, man, he plays extremely hard. Every time you turn the TV on, if you watch West Virginia, anytime you see him running around making plays, very feisty player. I love the way he plays as far as that goes. And then defensively, very solid defense. And, I think, really good football team. They didn't play their best game last week against Oklahoma, but I think Oklahoma maybe played their best game. Dylan Gabriel played at a high level last week, and so as score indicated that if you looked at the score. So it'll be senior day for them. We know they want to get that taste out of their mouth, so we know we'll get their best shot. But I think obviously we're talking about West Virginia, a team that Cincinnati in the past has a history with, that have played a lot of ball against West Virginia. We have not done very well, according to the stats here, playing West Virginia. But I do think this will be a natural rivalry as we move forward into Big 12. A team certainly very close to us on this side on the East Coast, and so I think both fan bases and both programs, this is going to be a great game that we'll be playing each and every year.
Last week you talked about a passionate team meeting on Sunday. Did you maybe get a sense throughout the week that meeting kind of sparked something? Because it looked like a lot of fire, a lot of energy. Not that you guys lacked it, but it looked like they were together.
Well, I mean, I just think we're, as a team, we're continuing to build and come together, and start playing for each other and playing as one. I think you saw that Saturday really for the first time for the guys. They were doing that and playing complementary football, which we really haven't done. We played disciplined football, which we haven't done most of the time this year. We've been really good in spurts on all three phases, like really good and then also not very good at all. But we really put it together, I thought, in this game. The first drive, it was an outstanding drive by the offense. We went 11-play drive, very efficient, went right down the field, scored, and then the defense goes back out and they stop them. It felt like, okay, early in the game, we're going to get control of this game. And we did that. And then we haven't been great coming out of halftime. We came out of halftime, first play interception. We go down and we get a field goal. So now we're up 10. So you're up 2 scores. And, our guys really didn't look back from there. We just kept playing hard, kept playing, moving forward with it. But it was a complete game. And, you could just sense it throughout the week. I mean, the guys went out and practiced hard. They practiced hard all year, really. But I just thought it was a more sense of urgency, man. We got to go get this win. Whatever it takes to get this win, that's what we have to do. Put everything else aside. Let's focus on everything we have to go out and get this win. And the guys were really, you could see it on the field, just really focused and intentional in everything that they were doing out there Saturday night.
What's the difference in the Corey Kiner that you saw maybe on tape when you got here and the guy that you're seeing now that's 150 away from 1,000?
I think very similar, really. I mean, I didn't really study how many carries he had last year and all that and over his career, but he's always been a powerful runner. He's very, very strong and he breaks a lot of tackles. And I think this year, he's just kind of, as we started the season, you guys remember, we didn't know who really was going to be the back. We were kind of back by committee. And we've kind of been that way, because it takes several guys. But he's kind of been the most consistent guy to show up week in and week out. He's gotten opportunities to be able to make plays. I think he's shown maybe he's got better vision maybe than I thought. As we first started this, because he's able to hit those holes. And for a guy, he's not a burner. We all know that, but man, he's got some long runs this season. And including one Saturday. I mean, we're backed up, and he breaks off, I think, a 62-yarder. So some really, really big runs throughout this season. But I think more than anything, he's just a hard, tough runner that's going to get those first downs, going to churn out those tough yards that you need. On the sideline, we're talking like, man, they got an extra guy here, but Corey he runs through them a lot of times, when he gets those yards. And that's credit to him, and he's a guy who, each Sunday and Monday and Tuesday, he's in the training room. He's living in there because of the hits that he takes on Saturdays. He does a great job of getting his body prepared for the next week, and thus he's able to come back each and every week and be that consistent back that we want.
You mentioned the 2 freshmen that you started at corner, and then Jordan Young comes in, and he's arguably the MVP of the defense for the game. What was the motivation behind not starting Jordan? Was that kind of your way to challenge him, to trying to pick it up a little bit maybe?
We talked about being disciplined and doing the things in order to be disciplined, and and he was undisciplined early in the week, and so we was like, listen, Raekwon's going to start. Until you get your mind right that you're going to be a disciplined player and do the right things, and I'm talking on and off the field. And when you do that, then you're going to play better. And I think that was really to send a message, and it did. I thought he went out and played very well once he got his opportunity to get back in the game.
Seems like this offense has played better the past couple of weeks with Ryan Montgomery being healthy. How much of a difference does he make out there in terms of what you want to do offensively?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Ryan. He's a guy, I think he missed 5 weeks maybe in the middle of the season. What he brings is just a level of poise at the running back position, because he can do all 3 things. He can catch the ball in the backfield, as we saw in the first touchdown. He can protect, but he also can run, and he's got really good vision as well. It's been awesome to have him available and back. We didn't even know if he was going to be back this past week as well. He's still dealing with some injuries. He was kind of a game time, decision whether we're going to play him or not. He was able to go, and man, I'm glad he did, and glad he was able to go, because he certainly gives us that extra that piece out of the backfield, catching the ball. I think that's probably his main strength, but also in punt returning, we put him back there for that. And so he's a very talented player that's had to deal with some injuries throughout his tenure here, but it's nice to be able to have him out there. It takes a little bit of the pressure off of Corey and some of those other running backs as well.
Do you look at the results of a day like Saturday around this league and just kind of shake your head because nobody has any clue what's going to happen Saturday to Saturday?
Well, I think that's been like that all season.
Yeah.
It's we're dealing with a lot of parity in college football, I think, but particularly in the Big 12. When you're starting to play all these games, and we've been saying this week in and week out, we're kind of everybody's kind of beating each other. I think how many is it? 5 teams that are in second place right now. And then at the bottom there's 5 teams that have 2 wins. So I mean it's like there's so much parity in this league that I think anybody can beat anybody. Whoever shows up with the great game plan, with inspired players. We're dealing with 18 to 23-year-olds each and every week. I think matchups play a big part in this. People don't really talk about matchups, but that there's certainly something to speak of with that. Whether you're playing at home or away, what's the weather like? I mean, there's a lot of things that happen, and also momentum. I think like Central Florida this weekend. I mean, they started, got a touchdown, and then Oklahoma State's running back fumbles. Next thing you know, another touchdown. They just got that momentum, never gave it up. I thought the same thing in the Oklahoma-West Virginia game as you're watching it. Oklahoma just started rolling. And next thing you know, the score is, kind of lopsided. It's hard sometimes to stop the momentum, I think, when teams grab it and go with it.
Is it different, the challenge of being in a league without a top dog? I mean, Clemson in the ACC was that forever.
I think it's good because you always have a chance. You feel like every game you're going into, man, if we got a great plan, our guys go play hard and execute, then we got a great chance to win this game. And which I think that's great. I don't think it's as good a as fun for everybody if you go in and you're a 25-point underdog. Going into a game, you maybe not have a chance. But in this league, I think everybody has a chance. And also the tough thing is and you're playing 9 games now in this league. As opposed to having the 4 non-conference that some of the other leagues still have. So that makes it more difficult too because each and every week you're seeing these opponents and. It makes it more difficult to try to win a lot of these games.
Frazier versus Corleone sounds like a great heavyweight fight. The other guys aren't too bad around them. I mean, looks like a game to watch in the trenches there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned this earlier. I think the strength is their offensive line, and of course Frazier's the anchor of that offensive line at West Virginia, one of the best centers in the country. Does an outstanding job and strong, plays with great balance. And, always seems to be in great position. Of course, Corleone and the guys up front, I think do an outstanding job with our D-line. And, and that will be one. If you like watching the guys and the big guys up front, that's going to be the matchup to watch for sure.
Any other questions for Coach? Scott?
Maybe not necessarily related, but how crazy your profession is. What do you think of a game where there's a 51-10, the guy that scored 51 gets fired and gets $75 million, the guy that scored 10 gets whacked after 10 games? Did you ever see it coming to this years ago when you decided to be a football coach?
No, I mean, when you're thinking about being a coach, you don't really think about getting fired. I mean, the negative piece of it. I mean, you're doing it because you love the sport, you love the camaraderie and all those things. And I think, obviously, and too, when I got into coaching back in the late 90s, I mean, it wasn't the kind of money that's involved now. And I think when you start, you're dealing with the big time money and all that stuff, then crazy things are going to happen. And that's what we're seeing happening year in and year out. And then here's the other thing, because I don't think it's not healthy for our sport to see firings before the season's over. I don't like it. I don't think it's healthy for the sport. I mean, we always talk about, hey, we're doing all this for the student athletes. Well, you're not really, if this is what's happening, because you're not even giving those guys a chance to finish the season. But but I know why they're doing it, because of the rules we've created now with the transfer portal, with early signing period in December, so everybody's signing their high school players early. If you don't make a change or a move and try to hire somebody early December, you don't have no chance to be able to sign any players. So I get why they're doing that, but it's it's crazy. It's the kind of money that the payout there. I mean, what kind of coach do you have to be if somebody wants to pay you that much money not to coach? It's crazy. you know. And then, you know, the other thing, on the other side of this is so many of these guys that are hired at these big-time universities that are going to be the savior for these programs, and they get hired, and then 5 years later their record's the same or worse than the one that they got rid of before. You know, what are we doing? You know, so it's a crazy profession. There's no question about it. But it's more popular than ever. Everybody loves it. You know, everybody loves watching college football. I think for many, many reasons, but it is a great sport, and that's why we do it. That's why we coach. That's why we play. That's why we watch it.
Somebody gave you $75 million to go away. Will we ever see you again?
You'd probably see me, yeah. But I mean, probably not coaching. I'd probably be just hanging out, you know, letting somebody else worry about all this stuff. But it's I don't know. That's crazy. You know, that's a crazy deal. And you know, in a way, it's kind of sad too. It's you know, it's like Coach Fisher. I mean, obviously he's a really good coach and won national championship and several. And then for somebody to say, hey, you're not doing a good enough job, we're going to pay you that much money to leave. This is crazy world we're living in.
Keegan?
Obviously, basketball season's here,
Yeah.
and Coach Miller is dealing with this situation where he has two players who can't play with the two-time transfer rules. You talked about your displeasure with the transfer rules. What's kind of your opinion on that situation and kind of how the NCAA has handled it?
You know, I really haven't looked too much into that. I know this for us, and when if we're looking to get any kind of transfers, and this has really been the last couple of years, that we're not looking to get guys that have already transferred once unless they're graduated, you know, because the rules state that if you've already transferred one time, you can't transfer again. And, you know, unless there's some waiver, you know, and we've all seen where, and I've heard that, man, most of these waivers are not getting passed. And so I don't want to take the chance in football. And I know every situation is different. We saw what happened in North Carolina this past season, or this year, you know, and I think they, you know, changed that halfway into the season with that particular situation. But, you know, I think either there's going to be waivers or not. To me, is what needs to happen. So it needs to be black and white, and have some more clarity about it, so everybody knows what's happening. And so you don't have this people that are in between for trying to figure out what's going to happen and what's going on. You know, it's unfortunate. You know, I think both of these players that came in, hopefully anticipating to play, you know, now they're not being able to play. So it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out, and you know, hopefully they'll be able to play. You know, but certainly there's not, you know, NCAA's made their stance, and now maybe he's going a different direction. But, you know, we'll see what ends up happening. But I mean, I think if guys are transferring, they're transferring to play, you know, we should let them play, you know. But also they need to have some clear rules.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thanks, guys.